Hello, I'm Amelia and welcome to this week's video, which is all about my sewing a Pogonip. But it's not just any Pogonip. This week I'm trying to turn the Pogonip Pullover into a Pogonip Poncho. So I thought I'd start with the vision for this Pogonip Poncho. I cycle my children to school all the time, both to and from school most days, and in the summer months it's a bit hot for my raincoat, which is a lovely lined warm raincoat, and I need sort of a waterproof or water repellent layer to pop over my summer dress, so something that's not too hot but will protect me from a bit of rain should that happen. I'd also love to make something that I can roll away, a bit like a pack-a-mac I suppose, that I can just leave in the bike in case it should start to rain. I've seen quite a few ponchos around and I really love the look of them. They're so easy to pop on and to ride the bike in, and I thought actually with a little bit of an adjustment I could turn the Pogonip into a poncho. So the idea is something that comes down probably just to mid-thigh on the front and perhaps a bit lower on the back. I'd like to put a pocket on the front of it, both just for chucking things in if I need to, but also perhaps to fold it away into itself so I can store it nice and easily. I do want nice sleeves with a cuff at the bottom just to keep the wind off if it's windy and rainy. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish the bottom of the poncho off yet, whether I use a nice wide facing or some bias binding. It probably depends how much fabric I have left once I've cut out the main pattern pieces. Let's start with how I'm going to amend the pieces. My plan is to hack two patterns together. Now when I made my Jarrah sweater, it has a lovely dipped hem at the front and at the back, and the back goes slightly lower over the bottom. So I thought I would use the dipped hem because I've already got it here. I love the shape of it. So I'm going to use these pattern pieces and put them over the top of the Pogonip pattern. I'm also going to extend the Pogonip by about 11 or 12 inches just to give me the length that I want. Now I have done that on the back here, as you'll see, so I've just used washi tape because it's quite easy to remove afterwards to attach the curved hem piece to the bottom, and that will go, this is on the fold, cut on the fold, and then it will curve up nicely towards the side seam, and I'll probably make a little bit of a slit up here as well just to provide a little bit more movement, ease of movement in the poncho when it's finished. Now for the front of the poncho, the piece that you use is made in two pieces, the bodice piece. There's the top piece here with the placket on it, and then there's the bottom of the poncho or the pullover, and I've just added the curved hem onto that piece as well. And also I am going to put a hood onto my poncho. I've looked at quite a few of the coats that my children and I have. A lot of them just have a hood that's completely removable and is just popped on with poppers. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the Pogonip with that lovely collar and then just put poppers onto a detachable hood that I can put on or take off as required. So what I've used for that is actually a coat pattern. I've made a beautiful coat called the Afi coat. It's by Below the Kufai for my children. It has an enormous hood that is so lovely and big and goes right over your head. I've tried on my son's coat before. It actually fits me. I think I made him the 10-year-old size. So because I already have those hood pieces cut out, I'm going to use those. Now it's a 3-piece hood, so it's got the 2 side panels and a beautiful sort of gusset up the top. And I am going to line that. So let me show you the fabrics and then I'm going to get cutting out, I think. Now those of you who've seen my channel before will know that I've got this beautiful Ripstop Liberty fabric from the new craft house. So that's going to be the main fabric for my poncho. I'll pop that up here. And then I actually have some of this pink jersey, it's cotton jersey, left over from a Rowan top that I made for myself a little while ago. And I thought actually it's not quite the right pink, but I think it will go quite well as a lining for the hood. And it's a remnant left over in my remnants bin that I'd really like to use up. So I think there's just enough there to get the hood out of that. So that's the plan. I have the pieces all cut out. Depending on how much fabric I have left over after I've cut out the pieces, I will then decide whether I'm going to cut a deep facing for the hem of the poncho or whether I'm going to make some bias binding. My plan currently is to make the poncho with French seams just because that's probably easier with the ripstop fabric than going through the overlocker, and also I want to make sure those seams are really secure and perhaps as watertight as possible, so I'm thinking either French seams or I might make flat felled seams just to really make that as secure as I can. I'm going to use a Microtex needle. I think that's the advised needle for sewing with ripstop fabric, so a really fine, really sharp, brand new Microtex needle. I think the smallest one I've got is a 70, so that's the one I'll use for this fabric. So it's very exciting. I'm going to get started on this later on this afternoon. I'm off to a little birthday party now for my daughter. Not her party, but I shall take her along to that, and then hopefully I'll get a bit of time in my sewing room later on tonight. It's Sunday and I'm up in the sewing room having cut out all the pieces for my Pogonip Poncho this morning. We've been at church, just had some nice lunch, and I thought I would sneak up here for a little bit while the children are just chilling out in their rooms. I'm really pleased. I cut out all the pieces. You'll see I marked the right side with washi tape, as I often do. If you want a full sew along for the Pogonip pattern itself, Chelsea from Friday Pattern Company has an excellent detailed sew along over on the channel, which I will link below in my description box. So I'm not going to do a full sew along for the pullover because there's already a fantastic one out there, but I'll come on here and there in terms of some tips with sewing with ripstop and how I'm getting along with the Pogonip Poncho part of the pattern. We're going to attempt a French seam, and I'm going to, so it's a 3/8 seam allowance. We're going to try for the first pass to do just over 1/8 of an inch, and then on the second pass I'll do a 2/8 of an inch seam. So it's pretty fine. We'll see how the machine copes with sewing this up. What I might just do is to put a piece of tissue underneath some tearaway stabilizer, just so that I can get a really neat 1/8 of an inch seam allowance without the machine eating the fabric on that first pass, on that first 1/8 of an inch pass, because I don't have any more fabric should the machine decide to eat it. So I've grabbed some tearaway stabilizer. We'll do the first pass at 1/8 of an inch, see how we go. So here we go. Good morning. It is a very blustery Monday morning here. I'm wearing my Megan Nielsen Jarrah sweater, which I based part of the poncho off today because I'm on the bike and off the bike a lot today with the school run. So that's what I'm wearing. I have got a video with this in it, so I'll link that in the description box below if you want more details on this particular sweater. Now I have got this far with the poncho, so you'll see the front is made up with these button plackets in the collar. That took a little while. It's a very slippery fabric and I did have to go very slowly. I did end up using pins. I used some very fine pins I actually got on my Fabric Godmother advent calendar. They're these ones here, and they're called cellulose head pins, very thin pins. And I did check on a piece of scrap fabric first. They didn't leave any marks, but in any case I was just pinning along this seam here so that I could stitch in the ditch and catch the fabric on the other side. I did try it with washi tape, I tried it with clips, but it just kept slipping all over the place. So in the end I did pin it and it looks fine. It's all gone in beautifully and it's lined up nicely. Then the back is what it is. You can see down the bottom I've got this lovely curved hem at the bottom there, so I'm still deciding what to do with that. I'm not sure if this is going to get finished in time for the Pogonip party on Wednesday. I'd rather make sure I take my time and get the finish perfect rather than rush this one, I think. But that's what it's looking like as of now. Now in terms of the next step, I think the next step for me is to assemble the pocket and decide just where I'm going to place that. I kind of want it to sit here, sort of on my tummy area, which will be then on this panel that's going to be attached here. Now I did cut the pocket piece as per the pattern, but what I'm actually going to do with it is I'm going to fold it in half. So here's the fabric. I did decide to interface it just to give it a little bit more body. I'm going to fold that fabric piece in half and then I will sew that together, and that will go down here as the pocket. So that will be the pocket bag, and I'll sew that on directly. I'm going to sew around all three of these edges, turn it inside out, and then top stitch it directly onto the front. It's a very lightweight interfacing, so it's not too heavy. I just wanted it to have a wee bit more body. Then what I've done is I've shortened the pocket flap piece. So I've taken about 1/3 off that piece, and I'm going to do exactly the same with pocket flap. I'm going to sew it inside out like this, flip it the right sides out to make a little flap to close the pocket. And then I'm going to put a wee popper onto that, so it will make that pocket at the front of the Pogonip. So that's what I'm going to work on now. I had a very little bit of time before I have to go and pick up my daughter from school. So I might just see if I can put that pocket together and then perhaps work out where I want it to go. And then I'll assemble that pocket onto the front of my Pogonip. So this is how far I've got. I have the placket, I've just got it held here with a clip so that you can sort of see how it will lie. I'm very excited about this. Obviously it's not closed up yet. I was worried it might be a little bit tight around my hips because obviously you want a poncho to be quite loose, but actually I think it will be a good fit. It's nice and loose without being too oversized. But I need to decide now where this pocket's going to go. So I've just pinned it together with the flap over it like so. And I'm just going to play around with it, I think, for a little bit. I might go down and stand in front of my mirror and decide exactly where that's going to go. I mean, it's probably more for show, really, than for anything else. But it would be nice to have a little pocket on the front there. So that's the next thing for tonight. And then what I would love to try and do is to get started on the sleeves. So I attach them here in the flat. And then that's at the point at which you then sew all the way up the side seams. So I'm going to have to decide at that point how I'm going to finish the side seams. I think I am veering towards bias binding just to get it finished off nice and neatly, and then I can run that bias binding up the opening as well just to make that really neat. I decided I think I'm going to go with bright yellow poppers on this just for a pop of colour at the poppers. See what I did there? And then I'm going to put, I think, 1 or 2, I haven't quite decided, poppers on the pocket as well. So I've got some nice bright yellow neon poppers in my stash, so I think those will be perfect. Good morning, I'm back up in the sewing room. I had a glorious bike ride this morning. It was cool and crisp but clear with lovely blue skies, and the birds were singing, so it really felt like spring is on its way. And so I'm very excited to get the Pogonip finished, hopefully today, so I can share it tomorrow as part of the Pogonip party, but we'll just see how we go. I put in the sleeves last night. That was the last thing I did. I French seamed those into place, and then I just took a break because number 1, I was very tired, and number 2, I needed to think about how I was going to French seam the sides and also do a slit. I did find an excellent tutorial on YouTube, so I will link that below, because on the Pogonip you sew all the way up the sleeves and then all the way down the side seam once you've put the sleeves in flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the slit around about the bottom of the pocket, which is just sort of where my waist is, so that it will sit nicely over my hips. I'm going to French seam down the sleeve here and then to that point, and then I will sew the slits. Now before that I'm going to hem the bottom of the Pogonip with some bias binding, and then obviously I'll tuck that in to the side seams. Because I'm not joining them all the way down, I can't then hem around the bottom of the poncho as you would normally. So I'm going to do that step first. I'll hem the front, I'll hem the back, then I'm going to sew the French seams down the side and add in the slit last of all. So that is the job for this morning. So it was quite good to have that thinking time, work out what I'm going to do, and I'll get started on that now. So it is, I mean, it's not done, but we're making progress. I have sewn up the side seams. It fits really nicely. Obviously it's not going to go, it's not designed to go over a turtleneck and a pinafore dress, but it does fit nonetheless over the dress, and I'm really pleased with the side slits. They actually fall at just the perfect part, just at my high hip, which is perfect for getting on and off the bike. And that tutorial was amazing. I mean, it has taken me most of the morning just to French seam the sleeves and put in those side slits, but I'm so pleased with how they've turned out. So what's left to do? Well, I need to put on the cuffs. Now, on my Pogonip pattern, I do extend the sleeves by 1 inch, and I'm so glad I did, because I can't imagine if they finished up there, it would not give me enough coverage for a jumper or a waterproof poncho. So I have extended these by 1 inch, and then I've also extended the cuff piece. I have 1.5 inch wide elastic. I just prefer wider cuffs, so I have extended the cuff piece so that I can put an 1.5 wide elastic in, rather than, I think it's like, is it a centimetre, 1.5 centimetre elastic. So I'm really glad I'll have those thick cuffs as well to come in at the sleeve. So the next step is to put those in. I'm going to put those in the same way I put in the placket. So I'm going to attach right side to right side, fold it over, and then attach it from the inside so that I get a really nice flat seam and I don't have to use my overlocker. So everything is enclosed. And then I need to put on the poppers. Now I have got a hood cut out as well. Obviously I think a poncho or a raincoat does need a hood, but for the most part I will be wearing this on my bike. So I'm going to make that detachable. So if I don't get that finished in time for the Pogonip party, I think I'll still enter it like this. But I'm hoping I might get some time in my sewing room tonight. I need to take a break now and go and do some household chores and things, cook the dinner and those other lovely things that need to get done in the day. And I will hopefully pop back up here perhaps later on this afternoon and get those cuffs and perhaps the hood done. But the rest of it is done and I'm so pleased with it. I mean, a Liberty raincoat poncho thing. Can't get much better than that, can you? Are done. That was very fiddly to do. I'm back up in the sewing room, obviously. I have finished the household chores. I did them in record time, probably because I wanted to come up here and finish this off, but the cuffs are in. They are the wider cuffs, like I said, with the elastic in there. I think it's just this fabric. It's actually behaved really well for the fabric that it is, but it is so slippery to sew with and negotiate with and things, and you just have to be so careful with any kind of pins or clips or washi tape. I've used a lot of washi tape on this make. But anyway, I did have to hand sew the last little bit of that cuff down once I put in the elastic. The cuff is a little bit too wide to just fit under the machine, so I just hand sewed those down using a running back stitch. I think that's what it's called. I do have the hood left to go, but like I said, I think I'm going to put that to one side. I've not got much time before I need to go and collect the children from school, and I would like to get this part finished. So the last step is putting on the poppers. Now in the instructions there are 3 poppers, I think one here, and then one down the bottom. However, when I made my other Pogonip, I did put in 4 poppers just so that I can wear it open like this and it sits in a nice place on me. So I'm going to look at the distance that I used for those poppers and do exactly the same thing on this one, because I think it would be nice to have it half undone or done up, depending on what the weather is doing. So that is the last job. I'm going to put in the poppers, and then if I do get time I will make a start on the hood. Right, so it's the end of the week. Did I finish in time? Yes, I did. And some of you have seen my post on Instagram and have liked and commented on that, so thank you so much for that. But I did finish in time to enter the Pogonip party, which was hosted by the lovely Christine, who is the Gemini Stitcher. I'll pop her information in the description box below. And here it is, my finished Pogonip poncho. I enjoyed putting this together. It did take a really long time because I wanted to make sure that I finished it as beautifully as I could. All of the insides are French seamed, and I have to say I am especially proud of my side seam, which I managed to finish with a French seam and then enclosed edges for that hem. I really like the curved hem actually on the poncho. I think it gives a really nice finish, and if I make another Pogonip pullover I would love to try it actually with a curved hem. I think that would look really, really nice at the bottom of the Pogonip pullover. The pullover, not a poncho. The other thing I added was a hood, and in the end I didn't film the process of this because it was very much a try as you go type thing. I lined it with a cotton jersey. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but I'm really, really pleased with it. I put elastic around the hood opening, and so that it has a little bit of give to it, just so that when I put it on over my head it really stays on there nicely, so perfect for a blustery rainy day. Now the hood is lined The rest of the poncho is not lined. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I have a wonderful raincoat which has a slightly padded lining, so it's probably for those cooler, rainy autumnal mornings. But what I really needed for my wardrobe was a lightweight sort of pack-a-mac style raincoat that is water resistant, but enough to sort of get me through the school run, or if I'm out and about with the children and it starts raining, and is small enough to be packed away into a rucksack, and that's exactly what I've got with this. So I'm very, very happy with that for what I needed. Now, I did end up making the size medium, which fits me really well. I used the bottom of the Jarrah sweater, which I think I cut in a size 8. And again, that's a lovely oversized, roomy fit. And actually, I get a lovely sort of gradation through the waist and then to the hips, a slight sort of A-line shape, which I think works really, really nicely. I finished it off with these bright yellow poppers here on the placket, and then I used pink poppers for the inside of the hood, just so that they blend in a bit more, and black on the outside here of the placket, just so that if I'm on the bike, I probably don't need the hood, I can take that off, and then these poppers just blend into the fabric a little bit more on the collar piece here. But I did want the poppers on the placket to stand out, and the popper on the pocket as well. Really love the pocket at the front, and actually when I tried this on, my children loved the fact that I have a pocket on the front of my poncho as well. They thought that was really good fun, and I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I think it looks great. It will go over my leggings and my jumper when I'm on the bike, but it can also be chucked on over a dress if it starts to rain and we're at the park. So there is my lovely poncho. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process of that coming together. Do ask me any questions that you've got below if you want some more details about the process, and I'd be happy to answer them in the comments box below the video. So that's it from me for this week. Thank you for watching as ever, and I hope you have a lovely week ahead filled with lots of happy, happy sewing, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye!